Hey everybody, I'm Greenhavak,
And I'm Cynize.
and this is ESHQ's Good Luck, Have Fun.
Justice reigns from above. No one can hide from my sight.
友人の剣をくれ
Cheers, love! The cavalry's here!
And welcome everybody to ESHQ's Good Luck, Have Fun Stage 2. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here. We have arrived, and we are moving on to days 1 and 2 of the Overwatch League. So day 1 will be the Dynasty versus the Valiant, the Fuel versus the Dragons, the Gladiators versus the Shock. Day 2, Outlaws versus Spitfire, NYXL or Excelsior, if oh hey Derek is listening, versus the Mayhem, and Uprising versus Fusion.
All right, that is a great first two, especially that second day.
Oh,
Man,
right?
oh man, there's just so much that Stage 2 is going to provide us.
All right, so let's get into this first game, Dynasty versus Valiant. Dynasty versus Valiant. I'm so excited.
Yeah, no, this is setting off Stage 2 right. These are awesome teams. They know the game so well, and they're going to be dishing out high-level plays out the wazoo right off the bat.
To get this going right, I'm going 3-1 to the Seoul Dynasty.
Oh boy, I have 3-2 going to the Dynasty into overtime, so not as clear-cut as yours, just because, Valiant beat them.
You know what? I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't
Yeah.
be mad with the first game of Stage 2 going straight into overtime.
Sure.
I think that would be very exciting. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the big reason both of us went with Dynasty is because they've shown to be slightly more flexible.
They are consistent as well.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like their win ratio is consistent almost every week. They were able to put out good games and good effort with their wins and everything. And Valiant, they are a great team, but they just aren't as consistent and as flexible as Seoul.
Yeah, and you know what? I feel like even when Seoul was struggling, they were just consistently struggling. Like,
Right.
It was clear that they were working through like a speed bump, whereas the Valiant, we saw them, get huge wins one week, struggle against the Gladiators, then get 4-0'd by the Uprising, and I just felt like you could see a different face. Yeah, all three of the losses that the Valiant had, to me, were like, who is this team?
Right.
With the exception of the London Spitfire loss. That was a good game until overtime where the team just kind of fell apart.
Sure. And you said a key word here, and I think that key word is going to be showing up in almost every single game this stage, and that word is flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
With the new meta change, with the new champions and everything like that.
And the new map pool.
And the new map pool. In this beginning, if you have a team who can have multiple champions chosen, different characters, if you are flexible, you will have a better chance of being able to react, change, and adapt to all of these changes in this game.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Seoul definitely has that flexibility over Valiant.
All right, moving into game 2 of day 1, we have the Dallas Fuel versus the Shanghai Dragons, and I went 4-0 with the Fuel.
Okay, I went 3-1 with the Fuel winning as well. My thing here is that the Dragons are going to be improving. They've been practicing nonstop. Fuel, maybe they're getting back into the groove, hopefully getting some going. But I think the Dragons, they were the most consistent 2-2-2 league or team in the league, and they were just bent on making sure they understood the comp, the meta, making sure they did everything to a T by the book correctly. I think they're going to start branching out in Stage 2.
And you know what? And that's the exact reason why I have the Fuel coming out and getting this 4-0 is the Fuel have players that can adapt quickly. Mm-hmm. Now, we didn't see a great showing from them in Stage 1.
Sure.
They started to turn it around towards the end. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I feel like there's nothing but up for the Fuel, and obviously for the Dragons as well. But I feel like in this first week, the Dragons will kind of revert to the first weeks of Stage 1 where they had a meta that they were playing, they learned that meta, they started to look better, and now that meta's gone. So
Sure.
that's why I went with the Fuel.
All right, I like it.
Going on to Game 3 of Day 1, we have the Gladiators versus Shock, the first battle for California.
All right, that's exciting. Who's going to keep or lose the second place in the California teams? What do you have?
I'm going 3-1 Shock.
All right, I'm going the opposite 3-1, going to the Gladiators.
So we were talking a little bit about this before the show. I was saying, for me, I think it's going to go to the Shock because with the moving pieces in the tank department for Gladiators, with the signing of Fissure.
Yep.
I think whether it's iRemix is replaced by Fissure or iRemix becomes, the Winston primary and Fissure becomes something else. Or
Sure.
something is moving around in that tank department. And we've seen when a tank line is learning or weak or not exactly on the same page,
Yeah.
that team struggles.
Sure, that's understandable. But the Gladiators, man, they are a team that is bent on understanding the other team, setting up strategy, setting up plays specifically to counter them. I feel like they might not even play him until maybe a couple weeks in, making sure that team focus is there. I mean, that could be detrimental to their team, making it so that these easier teams, technically you would want to play them against these easier teams, but we don't know what's going to happen. I'm basing it off of the last time they played.
And that's fair. And so I really don't think either of us are wrong in our arguments here. And I guess only time will tell with, all of these. But that wraps up a Day 1. So moving over to Day 2, oh boy, does it kick off big. We've got the rematch, Outlaws versus Spitfire, round 3. Who do you have?
This was a tough one. I'm going 3-2 Houston Outlaws.
Oh, okay. I'm going a 3-1 to the Spitfire.
And you know what? You were talking about how... Well, we were talking about how flexibility is super important, and the London Spitfires have shown nothing but flexibility. Almost their entire roster of DPS players has been able to get up there with 3 to 4 characters that they can play consistently and well. And that is going to be huge for the second stage. However, I feel like the Houston Outlaws are going to come back for revenge. They lost to them in the playoffs, and they are coming for a win.
Yeah, you know what? I will say, with Muma and, Cool Matt, I think the transition into a new meta isn't too crazy. We've seen them look great with Reinhardt Zarya play.
Oh, yeah.
Especially versus the Uprising to get themselves to the playoffs of Stage 1. But I'm just going back to, I think the amount of flexibility that the Spitfire have is just an overwhelming amount. I mean, we saw it overwhelming the New York XL.
Yeah.
So, I feel like if they can be overwhelmed by the Spitfire's flexibility, I feel like any team can. So,
that's understandable. We'll see.
Speaking of the NYXL, match 2 of Day 2 is the NYXL or New York Excelsior versus the Florida Mayhem. What kind of 4-0 do you have going here?
I have the 4-0 going to Excelsiors.
I also am going 4-0 with the New York Excelsior, and I almost think it's unfair because I'm kind of excited to see some of the new players for the Mayhem.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just a little bummed that they have to go up against, now not our Stage 1 champions, but our Stage 1 roster or win amount leaders. They are 9-1.
Right. They are one of the top 3, and Florida Mayhem one of the bottom 3. So it's going to be interesting. There's really not much to say.
In fact, these teams have the exact opposite win-loss
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
They've only won one game, and that was against the Dragons. So
9-1 versus 1-9. So I'm pretty confident in that score. Anything else to say about the XYL?
I'm actually kind of excited to see this. This kind of gives you a glimpse of what the Excelsiors are doing with their meta, what they're planning, and it also shows that the Mayhem have made any significant changes to their roster, any significant changes to their strategies and tactics. It's going to be a lot of information coming out of this game. Not much of a surprise for the win, but we'll get to see a glimpse of what both teams are made of in Stage 2.
Okay. Moving over to moving over to Game 3.
Oh, yeah.
Of Day 2, we have the Uprising versus the Fusion.
Now, okay, first of all, 3-2 going to Boston Uprising.
I have a 3-1 going to the Uprising.
I feel like this was a semi-difficult choice just because the Fusion are a good team. Mm-hmm. But the Boston Uprising from the Stage 1 near the end, they were rising in the ranks. They were doing fantastic, and I think they're going to continue this in Stage 2. The Philadelphia Fusion, they're going to have to learn a little bit. I mean, you already have the communication issues, and now that the meta's changing and all the new stuff is coming out, they're going to have to come up with more ways of communicating and figuring that out. So there's definitely going to be some dynamic issues there. Boston Uprising turning into a solid team.
Yeah, obviously Fraggy of the Fusion is a Reinhardt player primarily.
Uh-huh.
So it was a little difficult for me to go against that since they have someone who is familiar with multiple tanks, and if the meta does shift to a more Reinhardt-centric playstyle, they obviously have a main tank that can do both. But I feel like he was starting to get punished heavily at the end of the league. He led the league in the last couple of weeks with first deaths.
Oh, wow.
And as a Reinhardt, that's even more punishable. But anyway, guys, that wraps up Good Luck, Have Fun Days 1 and 2 of Week 1 in Stage 2. So 1-1-2, 1-1-1-1-2. There's binary somewhere. You can look that up yourself. But as far as who will be right and who will be wrong and who gets to take the lead in these first 2 days between the two of us,
What?
only time will tell. Thanks, guys. You have a good one.